If you click this video, it tells me one thing. Well, two things. First, you suck at finishing those really good ideas, and it's okay. I still love you. Because the second thing is what's more important. It tells me that whatever you've tried to finish these songs has clearly not worked for you. And that means we're gonna have to take a different approach so we can get a different result. My name is Zack, and for the past 12 years, I've been helping artists like yourself solve this exact problem here at Cosmic Academy. What I've learned working with over 800 of them is that most of our problems boil down to the same few things. You have a bad habit, and that's likely the reason why you can't finish anything. But it's not your fault. Since childhood, you've listened to music the same way. The song starts, it tells a story over the next 3 minutes, you're sitting there bobbing your head, and then it's over. But you listen to the song from start to finish. Then one day, you grow up, you install a cracked DAW on your computer, you start a fan page, and congratulations, you've now become a music producer. Your friends think you're cool, your parents think you're crazy, and Moose just wants me to show you this gold chain he got from all the money he's made here on these YouTube videos. But at some point in your production journey, everything comes to a screeching halt. And you realize you're great at starting new ideas, but you suck at finishing them. And if I had to guess, it probably looks something like this. You start an 8-bar loop, you spend 40 hours working on it, and then you struggle to turn that loop into a song. Or no, maybe this is more like you. You start the song with the intro, you get into that first build-up, you hit the drop section, everything is going great. And then, I got the first half, but how do I turn this into a full song? Have you recognized the problem yet? You're a producer now, but you're programmed to still think like a listener. Don't just assume because we listen to music from start to finish, we should also produce our songs from start to finish. Not only does this make it 10 times harder for you to finish, but it's also hurting your songwriting too. So I want to show you something crazy. How writing, arranging, and producing backwards is going to be the ultimate solution to your problems. Here's what I mean. Your song should tell a story, and the best songs tell the best stories. But in music and your circle of friends, we have good storytellers and bad storytellers. So we were in a car and the person next to me honked their horn.
But the banana wasn't ripe, so we had to go back the next. My screwdriver was a flathead and I needed the fill-ups, but the blankets ended up being soft in the end.
We all have that friend, and you don't need to say their name, who sucks at telling stories. And it's almost a shame because what they're actually talking about is kind of awesome. It could make for a great story, but the way in which they delivered it, that's what's holding it back. The story idea was great, but their storytelling sucked. Does this sound familiar? Because this is what's holding you back with your music. The great idea is there, but your arrangement, how you tell that story, is the missing piece. Good songs will hook you early, keep you interested, and satisfy you in the end. But when you're creating these songs in a linear fashion left to right, you're making this really hard on yourself. How good can your story be when you don't even know the ending? You want that final section to deliver, to satisfy the audience, because otherwise you just wasted their time. It's like a movie that has a terrible ending. You sit there for 2.5 hours, they build you up, and the ending just doesn't work. Think about how you feel after watching those movies. Well, your final chorus or drop section in a song, that is the ending to your movie. So why not just build this part out first so you can understand the final scene? Here are the steps you can take to actually do this. If you're struggling to finish songs, it can often stem from your writing. The problem is you're not sitting down to write songs. You're just writing ideas. Think of it like this. All songs across all genres typically contain at least 2 parts. This might be like a verse and a chorus, or in electronic music, we call them breakdown and drop. When you're only writing inside an 8-bar loop, it's usually not enough for a full song. Really, how much can you put into an 8-bar loop? That's probably just one idea. And it might be a break or drop depending on what you write, but you spend all these hours developing that. But what about the other sections? What about the other parts of the song? Yep. This is that moment now where things get difficult, because you're gonna sit there and try and turn an 8-bar loop into a full song. You just became that boring storyteller who's gonna say the same thing for 5 minutes. You see the problem here, right? To fix this though, why not just approach writing where you develop both ideas, break and drop together? simultaneously. Think of sitting down to write a song rather than just one part of a song. And what's awesome is you've already proven that you can do this. If you can write one 8-bar idea, why not just write a second 8-bar idea side by side? But thinking of them as their independent parts, breakdown, drop, or verse and chorus. Once you do have these rough ideas for both sections, it's going to be much easier to arrange this into a song. So for example, if I did have this rough break and drop idea, before I develop them further, I want to get them structured out in a way that works, that resembles a song. So I've already dragged in a reference, I created these markers, and I am just going to copy and paste my loops into the corresponding sections. And guess what? If I were to press play right now, hell yeah, this is going to sound like shit, because this still needs to be developed. But here's the key difference. Now when I go to develop this, I'm developing a whole song, not just an idea. Your thought process of what this song needs is going to be very different when you're staring at a full arrangement versus only an 8-bar loop. Because now you're forced to think about, how am I going to get from this section to this section? How might my first drop differ from the second drop? You never have these thoughts, nor can you do anything about it when you're spending 40 hours working inside of that 8-bar loop. And it's crazy because you need to think about these things. These are what make a great song. All right, so then here comes the magic moment. How do we take this backwards approach and apply it to the development stage of our track? Instead of focusing and working left to right, let's first go to the most important part of our song, the climax, the mountaintop. That's gonna be your final drop, your final chorus. Because if I understand what this feeling is in my song, what this moment is, my job is to now just take the listener to that moment. This concept is going to be huge for anyone who struggles to get through that second part, that second half of a song. You might have experienced this where you write the first half of a song and then you copy and paste it over for the second half, but you're left saying to yourself, I need to somehow make that second drop bigger and better. And yo, that shit is really hard. It almost never works out because you most likely wrote an amazing first half of the song, but now somehow you're telling yourself you have to outdo yourself the second time around and make it better? But instead, what happens if you just wrote the final drop first? Instead of having to add something to create the final drop, you could just remove something to create the first drop. Is all of this starting to make sense? If it is, hit the thumbs up. Let me know that this is helping. Okay, so when we approach things backwards, what's actually happening is you're giving your arrangement the ability to peek at the end of the story rather than the beginning. And just think of this from a storytelling perspective. You don't need to give the audience too much in the beginning because they're hearing all of this for the first time. They're learning your writing, your lyrics, your melodies, the sounds you chose. Now, if you choose to overload them with all of this information, all of these sounds in different parts, it's going to be hard for them to understand it all. You have the advantage over the listener because you understand what's coming. They don't. You can slowly build them to your climax by introducing different melodies, different sounds, different parts to the arrangement. It's one big climb. Now, technically, when you work on full arrangements like this, you can quit at any time and you actually do have a finished song. There's a full arrangement in front of you. This is a huge breakthrough for consistently finishing music. You're no longer hoarding 8-bar loops on a hard drive. But as good as this is, it's still not enough, and you know it. At some point, you also need to be able to get your sound selection, mix, and master quality to a certain level. To solve these problems, I want to go through the exact steps you can take. Tap the video on screen right now, and I am going to simplify this very complex topic for you. It doesn't need to be as hard as we make it out to be, and this is going to have an immediate impact on the quality of your productions.